He drops the half of the human to the ground and lets out a yip. A female dogman comes out of the shadows. She's about 7 foot tall with sleek white fur, slender yet toned. Her amber eyes locked onto his as she slowly approaches him. He bends down and rubs his snout against her neck. She lets out a low groan as he moves the half of the human towards her. She picks it up with her hand and begins to tear flesh away. Blood and flesh slide down her throat. A growl comes from behind him. He turns quickly to see a massive wall of brown fur, 12 feet tall at least, and 5 inches wide, burning red eyes, drool pouring from his giant maw. 7-inch fangs caked in dried blood fill its mouth. It lets out a menacing roar. His mate looks up as she lets out a low growl. He stands straight up to his 8-foot height. His icy blue eyes narrow as he extends his arms and braces himself for the coming attack. The huge alpha lets out a terrifying roar. The ground shakes beneath him. Trees vibrate from the force of the roar. The alpha charges at him and his mate. Mouth opened, fangs bared, its fingers stretched out, long black dagger-like claws, extended ready for tearing apart flesh and breaking bone. The white female dashes to the left as he charges directly at the behemoth. The monstrous alpha is taken back by this move. He freezes for a fraction of a second, just long enough for the white female to slash her claws through its side. It roars out in pain. He strafes to the right and digs his claws into the beast's chest and shoulder. He climbs up the brown beast as he goes to bite down on the monster's neck. It grabs him with his hand, digging his claws into his back, slamming him hard into the ground. He rolls backwards, coming up to his feet. He roars at the alpha. A flash of white appears as his mate comes from the right, leaping through the air and biting down hard on the back of the massive alpha. It roars out in pain. It rears back, its head towards the sky. His icy blue eyes widen. He pushes off the forest floor, his speed unmatched. The massive beast strikes at him with its claws, just missing as he ducks below the swing. He slices his claws through the thigh of the brown alpha and clamps his jaws down onto its leg. His teeth sink deep into its flesh. A loud crack fills his ears. The alpha drops down as he whimpers. The white female releases her grip and jumps from the alpha's back. He grabs the alpha by its face, digging his claws into the flesh of the beast, blood flowing from the wounds. He stares deep into the red eyes of the brown alpha, the smell of fear radiating from him. The look in the alpha's eyes tells him that it knows it's at the end of his life. The white female stalks towards them, her amber eyes bouncing between her mate. The once grand alpha crumbled to the ground in front of them. She throws her head back and howls. His ears flick at the sound. More howls fill the air. The sound of branches snapping, silhouettes of his kind coming towards them, grunts and guttural growls. The white female's kin begin to circle them, jaws snapping, challenging roars filling their ears. He lets out a soul-shattering roar. Silence. This alpha has been the king around here for decades, brought down by an outsider. He tightens his grip around the alpha's face as a low whimper escapes the brown dogman's maw. He moves his head closer, and in a flash, he wraps his jaws around the alpha's face. His fangs sink deep into its eye socket and skull. Warm blood pours around his teeth, and the skull cracks under the pressure. In one motion, he rips away the face and part of the head. Fragments of the alpha's skull, blood and brain matter move through the air. A wet, solid thump fills his ears as part of the alpha's brain hits the forest floor. Howls echo through the forest. He joins in with a bellowing howl, a warning call to any challengers, human or beast. This is his pack. This is his mountain. Holy shit, Jerry Sicmoor says to his brothers. It sounds like there are hundreds of them out there, Scott Sicmoor replies. Jin Sicmoor, the eldest brother, inserts a 30-round magazine into his AK-47. It's a good thing we're held up here then, ain't it, boys? His brothers look at him confused. Henry, hand me the other box of ammo. The youngest Sicmoor brother picks up the box and tosses it to Jin. Jin snatches the box out of the air and puts it on the glass coffee table. He begins to remove the bullets one by one, pushing them into the new magazine in his hand. You see, if Henry ain't worried, we ain't got nothing to think about, Jin says. That's because Henry only cares about drugs, women, and money, Scott replies. Don't we all? Jin says, as he continues loading bullets into the mag. Jerry laughs. You got that right, brother. Get the rest of them guns loaded up and grab the boys. We're gonna get them fools at the sheriff's station tonight. Scott and Jerry pick up the AKs from the table and start placing filled magazines into them. Henry gets up and starts down the stairs, heading to get the rest of the Sicmoor crew ready to head out. Jin lights a cigarette as he drops the full magazine on the couch beside him. Boys, Henry yells as he starts descending the staircase. Grab the guns. We're gonna get those motherfuckers tonight. The 6 men stand up, chugging down the rest of their beers, putting out their smokes, except for one, Rex, the nephew of the Sicmoor brothers, a former army ranger. He slaps the ass of the gorgeous blonde standing up from his lap. His mother was the Sicmoor brothers' youngest sister. His father, though, he was an army ranger back in the day. He died 10 years ago overseas. When Rex came back, he found out his mom died from an overdose. He was devastated and turned to liquor and women for comfort. Rex, Jin said, we're rolling out tonight. Okay, I'll be ready. For now, I'm going to get back to what I was doing. Rex grabs the blonde by her hand and pulls her tight to him. He watches Henry walk back up the stairs and begins to undress the gorgeous woman. Henry, Little Rob and Ricky ain't back yet from their run, a short fat man says. Fuck, Henry says. Call those 2 fuckers and tell them to get back here. Make sure they got all the cash from that old man. You got it, boss, the fat man replies. Come on, Phil. Just give us the money so we can get the hell out of here, Ricky says to the old man sipping on a bottle of Jack Daniels whiskey. I told you, boy, I ain't paying you assholes anything, Phil says. A large hand grabs the old man and pulls him over the counter of the convenience store. Little Rob, a 6-foot-tall bald man with a stomach, drops the old man on the floor in front of him. Look, you old bastard. We ain't leaving until we get the cash. You understand me, Little Rob says as he pushes the barrel of his pistol against the forehead of the old man. Ricky pulls his phone from his pocket and answers. What's up? Henry said to get your asses back here and to make sure to get all the cash from that old prick, a voice on the other end of the phone says. We're grabbing the cash now. We'll be back soon, answered Ricky. Good. We're going to get those assholes tonight, so make sure you get back here quick. Ricky hangs the phone up as he bends down in front of the old man. Come on, Phil. Don't make this difficult. Give us the cash so we can get out of here. A truck pulls into the parking lot of the small-town convenience store. Joe puts the truck in park as he peers into the windows of the convenience store. He can see the 2 men pointing their weapons at Phil, the old man who owns the store. He's a stubborn man. He refused to close down his shop, even with the threat of the Dogman. Joe hops out of his truck and begins walking towards the store as he approaches. He scans the inside. Damn it, Little Rob and Ricky. Little Rob is a man prone to violence, and Ricky is Scott Sicmoor's puppet. Joey sees little Rob grab Phil by his shirt, dragging him over the counter and dropping him on the cold VCT flooring of the store. Joe quickly turns and heads around the side of the building towards the back. He pulls his Glock from the holster on his belt, checks the mag, and reaches for the knob on the metal back door. He slowly opens the door and peeks into the stockroom. As silent as can be, he moves towards the front of the store. Bringing his gun up, he stacks on the left of the door, leading into the sales floor of the store. He hears the two men yelling at Phil for him to hand over the payments so they can leave. Joe quickly moves through the doorway, gun raised.
Sheriff, drop the guns. Don't move,
Joe orders, pointing his weapon at the chest of Little Rob. Ricky and Little Rob look at Joe. Well, hey there, Joey. How goes it?
Drop the guns. Now!
Joe commands, taking a step closer to the two men.
Hey, Phil. You all right?
Yeah, other than this fat prick knocking my whiskey over. The two men exchange a quick glance, and suddenly, Ricky lifts his weapon. Joe snaps his aim at Ricky and squeezes the trigger. 2 shots, direct hits, center mass. Blood oozes out from the 2 newly added holes to Ricky's chest. Phil picks up the empty whiskey bottle and bashes it across the shin of the large man in front of him. Little Rob starts to yell. You old prick, you're dead. He takes aim at Phil. Hot lead pierces his arm, then another into his upper thigh. Little Rob's huge body crumbles to the floor. Joe quickly moves to him, pointing his weapon at Little Rob's head.
Roll over onto your stomach. Outstretch your arms. Now!
Little Rob complies, the clinking sound of the handcuffs tightening around his thick wrists.
Come on. Stand up, fuckface.
You shot me in the fucking leg, you asshole. Little Rob rolls over with Joe's help and slides into a sitting position. Joe clicks the button on his mic.
Scavenger, this is 20 Yankee. I got 1 hostile down, not breathing, and 1 in custody. Send a cleanup crew to Phil's convenience store.
20 Yankee. Copy that. We have a crew in the area.
Well, Phil, maybe you should consider closing down for the time being,
Joe says. I told you young'uns I ain't closing my shop down. People need to be able to get their supplies from somewhere, Phil replies.
Okay. Well, maybe dust off that double barrel you have under the counter.
It ain't loaded, kid.
Put some slugs in it then,
Joe says in a heightened tone. As he walks over to Ricky's body, picking up the mobile, Joe places Ricky's thumb on the reader. The mobile phone unlocks, and Joe starts to look through the contacts. He sees the recent call and calls the number back. Ricky, are you two done with that old man? We just got a call from the inside. That motherfucker O'Neill and his bitch are going to the cabin to get supplies. Boss said there's a change of plans. We're going to let the wolves handle our business. Then we'll clean up what's left. Joe says,
Okay.
in his best Ricky impression, and quickly hangs up the phone.
What's he talking about? What's happening? Who's on the inside? Tell me right the fuck now.
Joe screams at Little Rob. Fuck you. Joe slams his fist into the nose of Little Rob. His nose explodes from the force. Blood pours from his nostrils.
20 Alpha. This is 20 Yankee. Where are you?
Static comes back over the radio.
20 Alpha. This is 20 Yankee. Where are you? God damn it.
Again, static.
Fuck.
Joe glares at Little Rob. Come on, you two. It's not much further, Nikki says. Nikki is an 18-year-old woman who lived with her older sister since her parents decided one day to abandon them. Her sister resorted to some not-so-legal ventures in order to support them. As for Nikki, She took a more stable path. She started working at Francine's Paradise when she was 14. Then, at 16, she was able to get a junior internship with the sheriff's department and has worked with them ever since. This upcoming January, she will be able to take the deputy's exam. "How far in are we?" asks Erin. "About 7 miles. "And how much further?" Erin says, as she steps over a fallen tree. "About 2 miles, Nikki answered. "Are you getting tired?" O'Neill says jokingly. "No, I like getting eaten alive by mosquitoes," Erin replied as she slapped the back of her neck. "It's better than the alternative," says Nikki. "What's that? Being torn apart by dogmen?" "Yeah, I agree," said O'Neill. The trio continues on their trek through the forest towards the old hunting cabin, which, according to Sheriff Parker, there's something that can help deal with the dogman's presence. He never said what exactly it is, but they're going to find it. He takes a slow breath through his nose, the crosshairs steadying on the man's forehead. He gently places his index finger on the trigger and begins to squeeze as he braces for the recoil of his M200. He stops and exhales. He removes his finger from the trigger as he sees a woman with blonde hair, Nikki. He lowers his rifle and stands to his feet, watching his young friend accompanied by 2 others, a gorgeous red-haired woman and a man carrying an M4A1 with a tactical flashlight attachment heading towards his cabin. He grabs his pack and begins heading down the hillside to his cabin. "Danny, are you here?" Nikki calls out. "Hey, Danny." "Who's Danny?" questions Erin. "He's the man that lives here." O'Neill raises his weapon as he moves towards the cabin door. He goes to open the door. "I wouldn't do that if I were you," a man's voice sounds from their right. O'Neill and Erin turn quickly, weapons raised as the man exits the tree line. "Not unless you want about 1,000 steel balls flying at your genitals, that is." "No need for those weapons to be pointed my way. I'm friendly," Danny says as he walks to the door of the cabin, opening it slightly, while removing a small pair of wire snips from his pocket. He snips the wire and opens his door, then turns back and says, "Nikki, it's good to see you." "How have you been?" Nikki says, as she walks up to Danny, arms extended, and gives him a big hug. "You know me, doing good out here all alone." "That's good. I'm happy you're safe." "Me too, especially with all the craziness happening nowadays. Why don't we go inside, and you can introduce me to your friends," says Danny. Danny, Nikki, Erin, and O'Neill walk into the cabin. As O'Neill enters, he sees that the wire was connected to a claymore about 2 feet inside the cabin, pointed directly at the door. "Damn good thing we didn't just walk in. We would have been scraped up with snow shovels and poured into plastic bags," said O'Neill. Danny laughs. "Sorry about that. With everything going on, you can't be too careful." Please don't forget to tune in next Friday evening at 6 p.m. Mountain Time for episode 3. If you enjoyed this video, please don't forget to like and subscribe to Descent into the Unknown for more horror content. If you have any real cryptid encounters, or you're a horror writer wanting to share your stories, please feel free to email me in the description anytime.